What is up, Bears fans? Welcome to the Bears Huddle podcast with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you all your latest Bears news, guys, in NFL Draft Week. Yes, we are here. We are finally there. Well, not there. We're nearly there. We're getting there. We can reach out. We can almost touch it and grab it. We can almost breathe it in. Although, would you really want to breathe in Lambeau Field? I mean, it'd probably make you ill, wouldn't it? I mean, let's face it, Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers, nothing good comes out of Lambeau Field. Pretty awful place after all. But look, the draft is on Thursday. We are so close now. We are fast approaching the time when we will find out what's going to happen. You know, is it going to be that we'll be there with bated breath on Thursday night and it will be the Chicago Bears with the 10th pick in the NFL draft select, or will we trade up and it'll be the second or third pick and we select and we all go crazy because we get Abdul Carr or Travis Hunter or Aston Genty and we all go absolutely mental? Or is it going to be that we've traded back and we've stacked some more picks and we get some more players, and rather than just having the 7 picks that we end up with 10, well, that's not 10, but 8, 9 picks instead, and add some more talent to the team? That could well be the case, couldn't it? It could well happen. But look, Ryan Poles looking sharp as usual, looking sharply dressed man there. Nice jacket, Ryan, nice jacket. Spoke to the media, and obviously the media asked a shit ton of questions to him as well. Some slightly better than others. There was some rather silly questions asked. I think one of the daftest questions has to be, why do you think everyone else doesn't have a consistent top offensive tackle? Why do you think everyone else changes who the top tackle is? I mean, how they expect Ryan Poles to know what everyone else is thinking, God only knows. I mean, the guy's a good GM, don't get me wrong, and he's very good at what he does, but hey, can he read minds? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure he would love to be able to. I mean, can you imagine if he could actually read minds and he would know what Spy Tech was going to do? He'd know what the Browns, well, the Isle of Misfit Toys Browns were going to do. He knew what the Saints were going to do. He knew what the Panthers were going to do. Could you imagine how good that would be? It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? I mean, come on, let's face it. He's a bit of that female intuition, doesn't he? Right, look, I mean, what were the top bits and pieces that came out of that? What would be the top few bits and pieces that would come out of this presser today? I think, away from the draft for a minute. I mean, look, yes, the draft is the big focus, and yes, we all want to know who we're going to get, and we all want to know what Ryan Poles' thoughts are on the draft. And I thought what Ian Cunningham said was also very good as well. After he did his long Oscar style, we'd like to thank this person, that person, and their mother and their mother's dogs, cats, goldfishes, hamsters, brother-in-law. But Ryan Poles spoke about Joe Thuney, and he spoke about the fact that he wants this to be more than just a 1-year rental, that he wants this to be kind of the next deal they look at extending. Obviously, they'll have to move things around with the cap, create some cap space to be able to get this done. But I think that's more than doable. You can move money around. The cap will increase next season. We know that. We know the cap is going to go up. We know that the amount of money we can spend next season will increase on this season. So there is a way to kick the can down the road, to move the money down the road, obviously signing on bonuses, etc., etc. But it is good to hear that there are plans to give Joe Thuney a new deal and secure him for the long term. That is a very much a positive which came out of this press availability that Ryan Poles gave today, his pre-draft availability. And I think, look, Thuney is a top guard. He's a top player, left guard. Obviously played with the Chiefs, won Super Bowls, knows how to get it done, and I think he's one part of this offensive line rebuild. And I personally still feel that that we do need to complete the offensive line rebuild in the draft. I think if Membu, Campbell are there at 10, then you snap their hands off, you get down and you run to that podium and you take them. I think if Calvin Banks is there at 10, you don't take him, you avoid like a barge pole. Really don't rate Calvin Banks, as I've said on numerous videos. If they select Banks at 10, I will be devastated. I'll be like the kid who got shit toys at Christmas. But look, I think we do need to finish it off. He also spoke a little bit about Darnell Wright as well, and he spoke about the fact that he believes that Darnell Wright can play left tackle, and there could be a switch in position there, and that they'd have to talk to Dan Rauscher, and they'd have to talk they'd have to talk to Darnell Wright as well. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. Ryan Poles is just reminding me what he said in these presser today. But yeah, positive news about the offensive line. And I think, the work that Poles has done in rebuilding the O-line to give Caleb Williams some proper protection this coming season, you've got to applaud the guy. You really do. Well done, Mr. Poles. Well done, sir. Obviously, the big one was about the draft. And he said it's going to get wild. And then he was obviously questioned as to what he meant by it's going to get wild. Now, there's a few things that he said that I believe were very, very interesting in this conversation that he had with the media. He's talked very much about the fact that he believed that there would be movement in this draft. He said that there'd already been phone calls floating around amongst teams. So that kind of tells me a little bit that we've had phone calls. The Bears have taken phone calls about teams trading up, trading back, maybe. I think trading back is possibly something they're looking at. I think, Poles spoke very eloquently about the fact that he felt that a number of positions there was a real, there was a real depth to a number of positions, which kind of drops a hint that if he believes that in a number of positions and the positions that, the Bears are looking at, running back, for instance, I know Genty is kind of the standout, but still, Amarian Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson. These are all top guys who you would certainly take in other drafts. So yeah, top players in tight end position: Colston Loveland, Harold Fannin Jr., Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm. People like that. Offensive tackle. You go past those first three, you've still got Josh Connolly, for instance, Irsay. You've got some good tackles you can take later in the draft. Defensive linemen. Go past the Mason Grahams, but you've got Kenneth Grant. You've got what's the guy Tyreek Williams. You've got some players like that who deep down would give you strength in depth. So there's something that kind of drops a little bit of a hint that that they are looking at possibility of trading back, that there could be a chance that happens. Now there was that same point that he made, though, that it may be tricky to find a trade back partner because of the strength in depth of certain positions. There's odd candidates that jump out. Especially after Omar Khan spoke to Steelers media today and said that the Steelers wanted to take 4 quarterbacks into training camp. Now, it could be that if Shedeur Sanders hasn't gone by the 10th pick, they could ring the Bears, offer them the 21st, I think they've got, and perhaps a second round pick as well to trade up, take the 10th, give the Bears an extra pick. They get Sanders, we get an extra pick. Who knows? That is a possibility, I suppose. Certainly something I would definitely consider if I was Ryan Poles. I think there was certainly hints dropped there that the Bears could possibly trade back. I think that was definitely there in that presser availability in what he said. I don't believe, from what Ryan Poles was saying today, in terms of using the picks to continue to build, using the picks to fill to strengthen areas on the roster, etc. I don't believe that the Bears will trade up or trade back into the first, because I think it would cost you 2 second rounders. And I think there's a lot of talent, given what he was saying about strength in depth of talent at certain positions. I don't think you trade away your 39th and your 31st picks to get back into the first, because you can take 2 equally good players at 39 and at 41. So I don't believe that there's a trade back in there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think very much the Bears will stand pat at 10 or trade back to gain extra picks. I can't see them trading up. I really can't. I might be wrong. I'm often wrong. But yeah, Ashton Genty, obviously, I think obviously is one that keeps being linked to the Bears. I don't think he'll be there at 10. I think he'll be either taken at 6 by the Raiders or he'll be taken by the Saints. Or even someone could trade up to get him. That's my honest opinion on this one. I don't know. So who knows? Who knows what the situation is there? But that was one of the big, interesting remarks that came out of what Ryan Poles said today at this press availability. And I genuinely believe there is that possibility of the trade down. That was really fascinating what he said, and I think this comment that he made about there will be a lot of movement outside of the first round as well. That this is a situation where you could be fielding calls to trade up, trade back, even beyond that first round because of the strength of depth in certain positions. This is a very weird, odd draft in a way, because you've got positions like the lineman, like the D-line, O-line. You've got edge rushers. You've got certainly the running backs. You've certainly got those positions where you've got strength in depth, but you haven't got as many what I would call the standout players, the generational players. I mean, this quarterback class is poor. It reminds me very much of the Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder class. That was a class that produced only one good quarterback, Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant. You look at the rest of them: Kenny Pickett, bust; Matt Corral, bust; Des Ridder, bust; Sam Howell, bust. No decent quarterbacks came out of that draft, and to some degree, I think your likes of Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. Again, you're talking bust, to be honest with you, at NFL level. Cam Ward possibly the only one who could actually amount to anything. I mean, I think we were very lucky to get Caleb last year, and I know a lot of fans don't like Caleb, but personally, I think he will have a good year this coming year. It's quite clear from what Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham said that there's been an awful lot of hard work gone into this draft, and a lot of selection and a lot of scouting has gone on. And it was fascinating to hear the kind of the way that it's been done, the whole build-up process behind it, that that it was a case of they'd had Dennis Allen in to talk to him about what he wanted from the defensive staff, and they had the defensive staff in. Then they had the offensive staff in, talk to them, and then they had Ben Johnson in. So they got a fully rounded picture on top of what the scouts will be telling Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, the assistant GM, as well. Really interesting to find that out, and I think this is something they said they've been planning since May, planning since May last year, not May this year. But, it's been, we haven't even got there yet. But it's been in the planning for a long time now. And obviously these meetings took place in January, February time. This is again shows that this has been a long time in the planning, that this board will be very, very well defined. And, Ryan Poles spoke about a whole big pool of players that they're looking at in this first round. So, it's fascinating, isn't it? And I think it's interesting that we're going into a draft with not a clue who the Bears will take. I think you often go into drafts, don't you? And you kind of think, well, that's who they're going to take. That's the player they're going to take. And I think, you look at other teams perhaps higher up the draft board, and, we kind of, I think 99% certain Cam Ward goes to the Titans, Travis Hunter goes to the Browns, and they'll ruin him. Abdul Carter goes to the Giants, or Shedeur Sanders, possibly. Mason Graham goes to Jacksonville. Ashton Jeanty goes to the Raiders. You can write it, can't you? Membu to the Jets, maybe. God help him. But, look, I think there is a kind of pre-written on those. But in terms of the Bears, I couldn't tell you. I genuinely couldn't tell you. It could be Tyler Warren. It could be Ashton Jeanty if they both fall to 10. It could be Armand Membu if he falls. It could be Will Campbell if he falls. It could be someone else. It could be completely someone else. I genuinely don't know who it's going to be. That's part of the excitement, though, isn't it? This genuine uncertainty this year as to who it is going to be. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on what Ryan Poles had to say. Obviously, I'd love to know your thoughts on the Joe Thuney, on what he's had to say about trading up, trading down, standing pat, what you think on that one. Guys, absolute pleasure speaking to you as always. Had some brilliant comments from Bears fans, particularly those in Chicago. It's great to have you here. We are obviously, yes, I am a UK-based fanalist. Yeah, someone who looks at the team, talks about the team, reports on the team from the UK. I would love to move to the United States eventually. Once the channel takes off, I want to do this full time. So guys, let's help me build. Obviously, subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching the Bears Huddle podcast, guys. So close. We're so close. Bear down.